Hello, students. So we'll see the next part of plagiarism and all other wrong practices in the research. So the next misconduct or the wrong practice in the research is simultaneous submission. So the name itself indicates that simultaneously your manuscript, only one manuscript, you are submitting to multiple scientific journals and at the same times. That is why it is called as simultaneous submission. So at the time of manuscript submission, most of the journals nowadays and even previously also, they used to take the declaration from the authors that the manuscript is original, the first thing, and is not being considered for the publication by any other scientific journal. So if you have given this, if you have filled this form for one journal and again you are submitting it to the another journal, that it is called as disregard or it is called as misconduct in the research. So declaring as such and then disregarding this process, which will leads to the submission to the another journal, where the chances of success, you feel that maybe the my journal will get better accepted here, but this could lead to the publication of the same manuscript by the two different journals. And if this happens, then this type of misconduct occurs at the discretion of the author alone. Now, the responsibility for this is author alone, right? Because you are giving consent to both the journals, that you are not submitting it to any another, and you have submitted and both the journals have published it. Then, so always if you have submitted your manuscript to one journal, you need to wait for the response from that journal. There you have to wait for their decision and then you have to go ahead. If not, then you can submit it to another. Submitting or presenting a paper in a scientific conference, which will not prevent you in publication, in submitting that particular data into the publication paper or research paper, but you have to give that you have to note or say there in the paper that part of this data is already presented in this particular conference. So duplicate publication, now submitting a new manuscript which contains the same hypothesis, data, discussion points, and conclusion as a previously published manuscript is called as duplication or duplicate publication. So same thing, you are just repeating and giving it to another journal, right? So everything is same. The data is same, discussion points are same, hypothesis is same. You are just copying your same paper and submitting it again. So this is again similar to the plagiarism, but instead of copying phrases or some idea or images or study hypothesis are replicated in another paper. Exactly everything. There you are copying some part of the text or some phrases. Here you are copying everything, right? So that is what is called as duplicate publication. The COP, that is the Committee on Publication Ethics. This is actually the forum which is made up of different types of editors, peer-reviewed journal editors, and this forum is generally made to discuss issues related to integrity of the scientific records. So that's why this is the very important committee of the editors, and there are guidelines of this which we are going to discuss in the last. The major offense is defined as duplicate publication based on the same data set. You are using same data sets with identical findings and or evidence of the author which have sought to hide redundancy. So for example, by changing title or author order or not referring to the previous paper. It means you are not adding that particular paper, reference paper, into your reference list, or you are not nowhere you are mentioning it in your this duplicated manuscript. You have just changed the title, you have just changed the order of authors, and the whole data, whatever is there in your first manuscript, it is exactly same. So that is what is actually duplication of the publication. So a minor offense in this is It is also referred as salami slicing. So it is defined as duplicate publication with some element of the redundancy. Some elements are got replicated, or a legitimate repetition, uh, or reanalysis. So some part is replicated. So for example, subgroups are replicated, or extended follow-up is replicated, or methods are repeated. So if this is the case, then it is called as minor offense. So publication in a regional journal or non-English journals are most commonly used for duplicate publications by the author. So generally, this type of publications are seen in regional journals or non-English journals, right? So the authors must refrain from such misconduct. You should not go for it, and recognize that this is unethical behavior. Many a times, researchers do the research, but they are not aware about these all ethical things, and because of that, many a times they do these mistakes. But keeping yourself updated with all these ethical things is your responsibility only. So you must. So the COP provides clear guidelines on handling duplicate publications. We are going to see that, of course, you have to reject this manuscript and revoking the submitted or published papers. Then separate confirmatory study, excluding previously published data, and with a larger sample size can be added or can be done, and you can do again that research, but there must be these two changes, right? So first change, sample size should be more, right? And you should exclude whatever you have published previously. New data should be there. Then you can even keep the hypothesis as it is, because it may like that you have worked on that hypothesis and then you realize that the data sample is less or some problem is there, so you want to work it again on the same hypothesis. You can do that, but the data should be new, not the same as you have published it previously, and the sample size should be more or different, you can say. So self-citation. So citation one's own published work in subsequent papers. So suppose I have published 10 papers. So the 11th paper I am publishing, I will cite all the 10 my papers in that paper. Now this is called a self-citation. It's fine if I'm citing 10th paper, which is because the 11th paper is the continuation of the same work which I did on that in the 10th paper, but it may not be directly related to the first paper, right? Somewhere it might be, but not directly related. So such citation you should avoid. Now, why generally researchers do that? Because experienced researchers generally do that because the number of times a paper is cited sometimes matter a lot, actually, for publishing way, because it increases your G index and H index, and that's why it is important even for some academic promotions. And because of that, the scientists do this, or senior authors do self-citation. But definitely, as I said, if you are continuing work from a particular paper, then that paper you must cite. That is inevitable. You must cite that paper. So this is perceived as unethical by most of the scientific community and looked down upon by the peers. So this is not the good practice the scientific community thought. As I said, sometimes the large amount of literature, so some important paper you must need to cite uh, in your journal, in your that particular paper. So you must cite it. However, author should not introduce concept outside the scope of current. That's what I said. If the first or second paper, which is not at all directly related to my current topic on which I have written the 11th paper, then I should not include second, third, fourth, fifth paper, because those are completely on different topics. And the responsibility of this all remains with the author to guard against such scientific conduct. Now, ethics with authorship. So, the one who did the work must be the author. This is the first thing which is very important. But there are many types. We will see them. Every journal has authorship criteria based on the ICMJE, that is International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. So this is a particular committee which gives the guidelines according to which who is actually qualifying the authorship in a particular manuscript. So according to that guidelines, the main three qualities which will make you qualify as a author are as follows. That is substantial contribution, the main contribution. I only did all the work, and if my name is not there, then it is completely wrong. So substantial contribution to conduct the study. So whatever in maybe conception on and design or data acquisition or statistical analysis or interpretation, if I did everything, I must get included into the authorship. The next is drafting and revising the article for intellectual content. So I wrote, but my writing is not so good. So I took help of another scientist who actually revised, drafted article for you as per his good intellect. Then his name must be there. And third is approval of the final version. So some author is there who is again more senior, and he did all the efforts and get approval for the final version, then you can add that person also as a scientist. So the extent of the involvement decides the order of the author, obviously. However, the order of author, especially the first author and the corresponding author, are always the matter of disputes, because these two authors are having highest weightage. First one means the one who did the work, scientific work completely, and the corresponding author is the one who is always guide. So his concept is there, right? Generally. So always guide is written at the end, we have seen, and the first author will be at the first place. So it is always good idea. So this should not happen. So it is always good idea that you take meeting of all the authors, clearly decide that who will be the first author, who will be the corresponding author, who will be the second, third, fourth author, and based on that you allocate that particular position or authorship in that particular paper to every author. So there are three major types of misconducts generally you find in this particular authorship practices. That these are guest authorship, gift authorship, and ghost authorship. Nice words now. So ghost authorships are those authors who contribute substantially in the development of the paper but are not given the authorship. So they are actually having the real right to get the authorship, but still they have not added into the paper, right? So the gift authorship is referred to the inclusion of the list of co-authors simply due to their affiliation to an institute where the research was conducted. So I did research, whatever, the concept is mine, the idea is mine, the chemicals are mine, the glasswares are mine. I've just used that institution's place. Suppose I did research in SPPU lab, right? I'm only using their lab, right? That place. And because of that, because there is no intellectual or any research contribution as such by any of the member or any of the staff member there, but still I need to add name of the HOD, for example. So that is actually called as gift authorship. So this gift authorship is typically provided to head of the institutions or the departments, even without any significant contribution to the particular study. Now, guest authorship is usually provided to the individual whose presence as a co-author significantly improves the chance of acceptance of the manuscript. So some authors are like that. Suppose I want to work on biosurfactant, right? So I made the work on biosurfactant, but I'm a new author, right? And I want that my paper should get accepted to a particular journal. So then I should approach to the highest author in that, the highest researcher, highest scientist in my field, for example, Banat. So I just asked him that, can you please be a author with me, and that authorship is given. But in this case, if that particular scientist gives his time to you, he will give you all the suggestions. He will give, if he gives all his expertise to improve your paper, then it is his right to be added. But it is just for the namesake of that particular institution's department, or particular level of that particular scientist. If you are adding it, it is called as guest authorship. I hope you got clear idea about these three unethical authorships. Then the conflict of interest. This is particularly mainly for the financial, personal, or social, or any other interest which is not disclosed by the author, right? So it is always better that if whatever research I have done, it has some good product production, or good product is there, and at that time he or she means I have not disclosed it, right? And I have published the paper and I'm taking advantage of that product. This is not accepted. All authors should know this, right? And the whatever interest, the competing interest in that particular product or device under the consideration is not considered unethical, because I know it's my discovery, it's fine, but I must mention it into the paper. I must report it. Whatever, you can do everything, but the only thing that you have to uh, mm, disclose it. You should not keep it close. You have to tell it, you have to write it in your paper. Then there will be no matter that you will face this conflict of interest, right? Generally this happens because there is poor understanding about the conflict of interest and important ethical issues. So people get trapped into this. The ICMJ has produced a common form to disclose any conflict of interest that has to be individually signed by every author and uploaded to the journal along with the manuscript file. So nowadays, every time, whatever manuscript you submit, you have to always, every author with his sign, you has to submit conflict of interest form to the journal. Now, direct conflict of interest, which emerges when the author derives employment, owns stocks, or patents of the product, that is drug, device, etc., discussed in the paper. So, for example, I want to take the patent, means I have developed some new drug. With my, there are three authors, right? And we have published the paper. And after that, when I want to take the patent, I'm alone taking that patent. Now, if this is so, then I must mention it into the paper, because my all other authors don't know that. They don't know that this can be patented, right? And if I'm doing that, it is not at all discussed that you can take the patent of this, and I have taken. That will be the direct conflict of respect, direct conflict of interest. Now, indirect conflict of interest arises when author revises honoraria and the research grant to do the study, paid lectures to the to popularize the product, for example, etc. I mean, so this is what constitutes the conflict of interest, is left to the discretion, that is the will of the author, and the authors are advised to err on the side of declaration. Now, this is the minor one, but still it should be disclosed before, right? Because the financial disclosures are necessary whenever you are doing such kind of research, which is irrespective of whether they are related to the current manuscript or not. You must disclose it. So that is what is conflict of interest. Then consequences of uh, sorry, consequences if you got detected while doing misconduct. Now, what will happen if you did it and you got caught? Now, the COP has given the clear guidelines for each step what kind of misconduct is there, and accordingly what punishment will be there is given by COP. So the first step generally taken by the editorial board, he will first contact the author and inform that this is the misconduct. Then the authors will be given a time to give some justification on that. Then the paper, the first thing will be that paper will be rejected if the peer reviews or reviewers are telling like, no, this data is already published and he or she has added it without referencing them, without concerning them, because they have not cited the references of that particular author. Now if this is happening, then the first thing, that paper will be rejected and the leadership in the author's institution is informed. So the author's institution will be informed that this particular person has did this job, right? And then automatically it will suppose whatever the data he or she has published or given into that particular manuscript which is already published, then authors are provided opportunity for self confession. Kuch to means why they did this, why they have added this, and if it is right, if it is acceptable level, that why they did. But still the manuscript will get rejected only. They will not have any good punishment, only they will be given the warnings. If the misconduct is major, then the editor has the right to revoke the paper after due diligence is performed and the misconduct confirmed. So first editor has to confirm the misconduct, and then it has to give this particular paper or this particular scientist did this to COP. So authors are blacklisted then by the journal, and the information is shared with COP so that the all journals are informed. So now if this happens, the author is blacklisted, in the sense the author will never be able to publish any paper in that particular journal, as well as the COP will be also get informed. So all other journal members and editors will get informed. So they will also reject the paper. So this will be the major disadvantage for a researcher. If authors deny their misconduct, then editors can take cognizance and appropriate action as per the COP guidelines. So in addition, authors can be questioned by ethics committee of local bodies also, that they will inform that they have not followed this. For example, ethics committee of All India of Ophthalmological Society, and there are many other ethical committees, national ethical committees. So that will be informed, and accordingly the suitable punishment will be given to that particular scientist or author. Now India's policy interventions on research ethics. So these are the policymakers, that is UGC, then AICTE, then DST, then DBT, ICMR, and ICMR DBT. So these are the policymakers. They always make the policies on different research areas, such as UGC on plagiarism awareness on academic integrity, AICTE plagiarism awareness on academic integrity, DST conflict of interest, sanctions of misconduct, then ICMR research ethics for biomedical research on human subject, and ICMR DBT always gives ethical guidelines for the research involving human stem cells and their derivatives. So these are the Indian organization who gives all this research ethical guidelines. Now, why barriers which are faced in publishing top journals? What is the issue? Generally, why scientists are not able to do that? Language barrier is there, lack of research funding is there, then popular topics can vary among countries, then inadequate wages for the researchers, strict journal guidelines, lack of research experiments, lack of knowledge about research methods, lack of incentives for publishing, lack of mentorship, timing constraints, publication cost, and lack of internet access. So all these are the reasons Why? Because of this, people can't able to publish into a good journal. So the main is language barrier, and follow that lack of research funding is main reason in India why we face this. So there are many factors you have caused challenges in my experience. Those are access to subscribed e-sources or e-journal, conference proceedings listed in Scopus and WOS, that is then these are the two best, I can say, the organizations. So lack of research culture inside and outside organization, lack of scientific writing workshop, because of that the people couldn't able to do that. Then lack of essential skills of English writing, limited research projects or fund supports in the, not only in the library field, in every field. Then no mentoring facilities, no incentives for publishing good ranking journals. Actually, their fees are also uh, very high. So publication cost is very high. So because of that also, many good scientists could not able to publish their research in good journal. Lack of statistical skills. Now, ways to identify the predatory journal. Now, if I want to publish my paper into a particular good journal, so how I could able to know that every journal will write this is my impact factor, this is what is we are giving discount, or this much is the impact factor. They are included in so many websites, or they have the sanction of these things. But then it is, and because of that, it is difficult to find out the good journal, and that's why you must know that which journal can be predatory journal. So what the properties or characteristics of this predatory journal? They promise you for the rapid publication. No good journal will able to publish your paper within 1 month or 2 months. They take their time because reviewers take the time. It will get peer reviewed properly, so it takes at least 2 to 3 months. But these journal will promise you to publish your journal very fast, within 1 day, within 24 hours, within 10 days. It means they are predatory journal. The homepage language targets authors. So they wrote it in such a way that they could get the authors. Their interest is mainly targeting the author. The journal does not have clear policies on retraction, correction, erection, errata, corrections or errata, or plagiarism. So see the for this, that what exactly guidelines are there. So you can go to ICMJE site and find out those recommendations where they have discussed the best practices as well. So description of the manuscript handling process is lacking. As I said, that there will be no changes will be done, and within 2 days you are, whatever you have written, no peer reviewing, no reviewing, whatever manuscript you have submitted, it will get uh, published as it is, and immediately within 24 hours. The contact email detail is non-professional and journal related. So on this also, by knowing this also, you could able to find out that this particular journal is predatory. So manuscripts are requested to submitted by email instead of through online submission system. So all good journals are having a very good online submission system. So journals claiming to be open access either retain copyright of published research or fail to mention the copyright, right? So article processing or publication charge is very low. It is not possible because it needs that much expenditure. So whenever the charge is low, it means that might be the predatory journal. Information on whether or how journal content will be archived and preserved is absent. Means how and when, after how many days, also could you able to see your paper or not, that all, how it is going to get preserved, whatever paper you have published, that is not given clearly. Scope of the journal is not clear, right? Then website contains spelling and grammatical errors. So this is actually the best and the first way to understand that it is the predatory journal. Now other red flags, by leaving this, no ISSN number, that is International Standard Serial Number. But even many predatory journals are having this ISSN number because now everyone knows that this number is mandatory. So they take that. Still, it doesn't mean that ISSN number is there. It means that journal is not predatory or fake, right? So not indexed by Medline, Scopus. Always remember that whenever the journal is in the list or indexed by Scopus or by Web of Science, 101% that journal is the best journal, right? Now this Medline, then cycle and NFO, then other legitimate abstracting or indexing services or databases, which are good one. Not all are good, right? Then the journal title, then the journal title mirrors the title of established journal. Means, suppose there is the journal Frontiers in Microbiology. Now, if I want that, if Frontiers in Microbiology is the best journal, suppose, so I will keep the title in a such a way that microbiology uh, and frontiers, or something which is mirror image or something like that, which will indicate a good journal's essence there, right? So that is again the journal which is not the good journal, or it can be the predatory journal. Journal is not published by the reputable or known publisher by looking at the publisher. Suppose Elsevier is there, 100% best journals are there. PLSO is there, best journals are there. Frontiers, best journals. Nature, the best journal. Science, the best journal. So if such type of publishers are there, or academic places there, or basic journal of microbiology, I'm giving microbiology examples because I know them. So if such standard publishers are there, then the journals are always good. So journal send unsolicited email invitations or submissions reviewers, or to serve on its editorial board. So every time you are getting an email, please submit this manuscript, this is good, this much impact factor it has. You have to be aware from such journals. Look like a trade journal, not a scholarly journal. So whenever you are doing a research, it is always better that you have to publish it into scholarly journals. It's not the trade, it's not the business. You have to submit it for the intellectuality. So you have to submit it for scholarly journals. Advertising is accepted. So no good journal will give some advertising or something like that. Here in predatory journal, they accept the advertise. Why? Because they get money for that. Fine. So these are the characteristics of, or the different ways to identify the predatory journal. So we need to stop it here. See you in the next lecture.